Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Mary's Book Club. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Saint, the Surfer, and the CEO by Robin Sharma. He is the best-selling author of The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, which I've also reviewed before. If you have not seen that review, it will be in the book review playlist down below. So the reason I chose to read this book was because it was always on my list, and I said to you guys last month that I went ahead and just kind of filtered out all the books that I just no longer resonated with me, and it was the only one that I kept, so I just went ahead and ordered it. The book is basically about a fictional character, basically, that goes on a journey and meets 3 different men that ultimately change his life. The guy's name is Jack. I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'm not going to tell you what the big twist is in the beginning, but it's got a nice little plot twist in the beginning of the book, and then it just goes into him journeying across the world, I guess, to find himself in essence. So yeah, let's jump into the quote, shall we? I thought it was interesting that the author said, "I suggest that within 24 hours of completing this book, you sit down and share the philosophy you've learned with someone you care about. This will clarify your understanding and assist in integrating the lessons into your life." Great marketing strategy, but also for real, I think that's pretty cool. It hasn't been 24 hours since I read it, so I suppose that's what I'm doing, guys. Sharing the message. All of us, whether or not we are warriors, have a cubic centimeter of chance that pops out in front of our eyes from time to time. The difference between the average person and a warrior is that the warrior is aware of this and stays alert, deliberately waiting so that when this cubic centimeter of chance pops out, it is picked up. This is by Carlos Castaneda. He has like little quotes in the beginning of each chapter. I've always said that success happens when opportunity meets preparedness. So in essence, that's what this is saying too. It's like, yes, you need that opportunity. Yes, you need that big break, but you also have to be prepared for it. Sometimes you're prepared and you don't even know it. So it doesn't mean you're actually doing something grandiose. It just means that you have to be ready to receive that thing, you know, be in place to accept it. But I've personally come to know that this breathtaking universe of ours is not only strikingly intelligent in its operation, it is also a very friendly place. This world wants us to live great lives. It wants us to be happy, and it wants us to win. I highlighted that because I feel like that's something I have to remind myself a lot, right? In order to not get in the victim mentality or like get down on yourself, it's always important to remind yourself that, you know what? My creator, God, spirit, the universe, whatever, however you put it, wants me to win, right? Ideally, I was put here to discover my best self, right? And so even when I'm going through situations that are less than ideal, I know that I was put here to win, right? Oh, this is one I related to, so I highlighted it. School bored me, but I found great stimulation from books. I'll never forget my mother saying that one idea read in one book had the potential to transform my life. The real thing she said was that we just didn't know which book contained that one idea that would lead to our awakening. My duty, she would tell me with obvious love, was to keep searching for that book. Once I found it, I had to have the personal courage to act on the idea so that results were brought into my life. How deep is that? And I think that we can replace the word book with vision. We can replace it with work, right? I feel like I really like our new generation because we are so curious. Like, we just want to know. We are all on the search for something deeper. And while it's easy to say that, oh, that's why we have more depressed people in our generation, because we're just never satisfied. We're always looking for more. I don't think what most of us are chasing is more stuff per se. I think we're looking for more meaning, a deeper understanding of what it is we're actually doing here. And so if you replace the word book with vision or work or passion or whatever, in essence, you're just basically saying your job is really to keep looking until you find whatever that work is that changes your life. Woof. It's been said that as we move through life, we have to juggle a number of different balls. Some balls, like the one that represents career, are made of rubber. If we drop them, they have the ability to bounce back. But some balls are made of glass. Family is like that. If you drop that ball, it doesn't come back. The richest person in the world, I've discovered, isn't the person who has the most, but the person who needs the least. That was my takeaway. Like, after reading that chapter, I had a group call with a bunch of people that I'm going on this retreat with, and they asked me, I think the prompt was, what is your goal? And I ultimately said, I've always wanted to say this, but I didn't know how to put it. And my current thing that I'm working on is not having more, but needing less, right? And that doesn't always mean money. I just mean anything. I don't want to have more friends. I want to need less external validation. I don't want to have more material items. I want to need less to make me feel comfortable. Does that make sense? Failure often does that for people. It reawakens us to who we really are and to what we truly want. And it shakes us out of our complacency. Facts. Philosophy simply means love of wisdom. What I'm telling you, Jack, is that I came to love wisdom just as much as I loved life itself. I'd spend entire days pondering life's meaning and meditating on its deep issues. The things that I used to spend my days focusing on began to look trivial. I guess the real trick in life is to turn hindsight into foresight that reveals insight. Child, if y'all don't get this. When you lie on your deathbed taking your last breath, there will be only 3 questions that would be at the forefront of your mind. These are what I call a person's final questions. And since they'll be the most important considerations at the end of your life, why not exercise the personal bravery to make them your most important considerations today? Fact. They're simply, did I live wisely? Did I love well? And did I serve greatly? Yeah, I feel like that pretty much sums it up. You were born to present your gifts to the world, but the way it is set up is that before you can shine as a person, and I mean really shine, you must do that interior work I spoke of earlier. You must get to know yourself. You must look at your limiting beliefs and recreate them. And you must analyze the false assumptions you have about what you can be, have, and do as a person, and then set about correcting them. You need to become aware of your historical patterns of reacting in the different scenarios of your life and recreate them. And you must tackle your fears and move through them. Then you can open up your heart and be more concerned about the happiness of other people than about the happiness of yourself. And once you do, ironically, you become happy. As much as we talk about self-care and even like being selfish to a certain extent, I love that a lot of philosophers really hype up the fact that doing for people ultimately helps bring joy into your life. But I think that there's always a fine line, right? If you're a giver and all you're surrounded by is takers, that can be a dangerous line too, because takers don't have a limit. Does that make sense? So anyway. So we don't believe in ourselves. We deny our power and set up blocks to the achievement of the extraordinary life that we are meant to lead. It's almost like we sabotage ourselves. We run away from the very thing that we want the most. This was so deep for me, that line, not because I can relate. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know that that's a reoccurring thing, Have I been guilty of it once or twice? Probably. But it's very hard because that very line reminds me of pretty much everybody I've ever dealt with on a romantic level. Because it's like everything about their expression verbally is like, oh, it's the thing that I want. But in their actions and in just like everything else, it's like running in the other direction, right? It's like emotionally unavailable. So the reason that stuck out for me was because the saint is telling this to Jack, because Jack was realizing that he really loved this girl, but he could not get himself to commit to her. And every girl for her, once it got to that commitment stage, he would find a way to back out. Although he claimed that that's what he really wanted, That's interesting. The starting point of enlightenment, a goal that every person should strive for, is inner leadership. Leadership is far more than something business people do at work. Leadership is all about personal responsibility, self-discovery, and creating value in the world by the people we become. I really love that. Creating value in the world by the people we become. He didn't say by how much money we earned, by earning titles, by having more money than he said by the people we become. But blaming others is nothing more than excusing yourself. Facts on facts on facts. I'm going to just flip to a random one and I'm going to read that one and that's it. Oh, wow. That's funny. I said that's it because that's actually what the highlight starts with. That's it. All the dissatisfaction you feel is really nothing more than your best life, your destiny knocking at the door of your current life. The ache you feel in your inner core is your spirit telling you to wake up and get back on track, to become congruent and authentic and be the person that you truly are. Each man has only one genuine vocation: to find the way to himself. His task was to discover his own destiny, not an arbitrary one, and to live it out wholly and resolutely within himself. Everything else was only a would-be existence, an attempt at evasion, a flight back to the ideals of the masses, conformity, and fear of one's own inwardness. If y'all didn't catch that, y'all just didn't catch that. But that's amazing, right? I think that quote was actually by someone else though, but it was someone that he quoted. Let me see if I can find it. And now I can't. Yeah, half of it was by someone else. Herman Hesse. I think that's brilliant. Especially that last bit about running back to the masses and avoiding inwardness. That really struck a chord with me, right? Not because I can relate, I really can't. But I'm saying that a lot of people are like this. They just don't want to sit with themselves. They don't want a moment of silence to really process their own thoughts. Many people like the idea of saying, oh, I like my alone time. But do you really? Right? And that's what this is saying. Every chance that you get, are you running back to society to keep you from having to face who you really are? Man, that's deep, y'all. All right, time to rate the book. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. I think you already expected that. The timing is good for me. I feel like it's well written, but it's not like overloaded with like unnecessarily complicated words. It's to the point. I like that it tells it from the perspective of a fictional person that's going on this journey. I don't want to spoil it. It would be very hard for me to tell you why I'm giving it a 5 without spoiling it. So as usual, I'm going to drop the link to the book for the hard copy, the Kindle, as well as the Audible version. So go shopping, have fun. And as usual, thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Mary's Book Club, and I'll see you next month. Bye.